It's me, Cliffy. Okay, now the obligatory overhyped intro is over. I have been playing a game called EXANIMA, which I'd never heard of before until a video by Iron Pineapple popped up on my feed on YouTube. And I'll link his video in the description because it's really good. And this game basically is a physics-based Dark Souls. And I know the Dark Souls comparison in gaming criticism is so overdone, and I will go into the reasons why I compare it, because it's not the same game by a long shot, but there's certain things like the mood, the vibe, and the sort of feeling you get playing it that are quite comparable. So the video is split into 3 parts. So firstly, I'm going to go a bit about what is this game, you know, what's it all about, why it's like Dark Souls, and then finally, you know, should you buy it? So first up, it's essentially a dungeon crawler, isometric, with physics-based combat, and everything in the world is physics-based. So what that means is, if you are running with your character and there's some uneven ground, maybe there's some poles or there's some bricks or there's a body on the floor, your character will probably fall over. Because their footing is really based on physics in the game. They are keeping themselves upright with their legs. Which sounds like a strange thing to say, but that is not the case in 90% of games. You have your character and it might look like their feet are moving and holding them up, but they're not. It doesn't matter. But in this, yeah, sprinting through the dungeon, you're going to fall flat on your face and then probably get hit by an enemy. Alongside this, everything in the world is interactable. So you can pick up logs, you can block off doors, you can pull over big dressers or boxes, block them in front of a door, and then your enemy can't get through. You can drop things on people's heads. You can put a bucket on your head, and that's now your helmet. And it's not because it's giving you a stat. It's because you physically have a helmet, physically have a bucket covering your head. And when a sword hits it, it doesn't hit your head, it hits the bucket. This is most kind of obvious in the combat mechanics. So there's no press A to swing your sword. There's no, you know, quickly tap A, B, and then you do a little flurry attack or, you know, quickly shield like this. It's all done with your mouse. So if you swing your mouse like this, the character will swing it like that. And if you do it too slow, they're going to swing it more slowly. If you try and do another counterattack by going back the other way too quick, they're just going to stop midway and then go back. The weight of the object in the hand is what dictates the swing, basically. You aren't controlling the sword directly, you're controlling the character's arm. And it's quite hard to wrap your head around it, and it takes a lot of getting used to. But once you kind of do and you get in some good hits, it is so satisfying. It's, oh, okay, I see an opening, I'm gonna try and swing for the head, or I'm gonna swipe the leg and then smack them when they're on the floor. It's so satisfying to do, but very difficult. So the combat in this game, you're so open most of the time. You know, if you have full armor on and you get hit in the head and you don't have a helmet, you're probably going to die in one shot. And that's because it's not giving you stats. It's not giving you, say, plus 20 to your armor rating. This is a physical barrier in the game world physics. And if I get hit, it's not going to hit my skin. It's going to hit the barrier, hopefully. Which makes it very, very difficult. In a good way. I mean, you're constantly kind of watching corners. You might open a door, see an enemy, and immediately just slam it in their face because you go, nope, I am not dealing with this right now. I have come too far. That happens all the time. You're constantly watching corners and checking who's coming and all that kind of stuff. So the combat is really where the physics engine comes into its own. Okay, so moving on to the similarities with Dark Souls. Some of them are a bit obvious from what I've already said, but firstly, it is very hard. And that doesn't mean, oh, it's hard, so, you know, that's Dark Souls. It gives you the sensation of being very, very careful and taking it slowly, which is the feeling you get from Dark Souls. You know, you go around, you watch every corner, you check every room, but slowly and carefully. And if there's an enemy, you try and separate them from the pack, maybe close the door behind the rest, that kind of thing. And that is very much the feeling you get in Dark Souls. It's like you are constantly using your awareness as a resource. You're watching out for people, watching out for enemies, watching out for traps all the time, watching every corner. 9 times out of 10, you don't want to engage the enemy. And the enemies in this game aren't always going to aggro you. They will see you, and if you're holding a weapon or you're in a combat stance, they'll probably attack because they're going to feel threatened. If you approach everyone with only a torch in hand and don't get too close, and when they look at you, you back off, a lot of the time they will also back off and not attack you. And you find yourself doing this so often, so often, which is really, really cool because it really gives you the feeling of, I really would die very easily. It really pulls you into the world. You feel like you're there. You don't want to engage if you don't have to. So the setting as well is Dark-Soulsy. I'm going to tire of saying that in this video, but it's very dark. It's very, it's a dungeon kind of crawler type thing. The enemies are all kind of shambling messes, very much like hollows. Obviously they have more personality and thought in their heads though, because they don't always want to just kill you mindlessly. So one of the things this leads to, which I've never seen done in another game, is the darkness. I have not messed with the gamma settings. I don't even think there is any, and I don't intend to. But there's areas of the dungeon which are understandably, it makes sense, completely pitch black. Now, what that means is you are having to carry a torch most of the time. And if you're carrying a torch, you can carry a weapon in your other hand, but you can't then carry a shield as well. And you really do want to be carrying a shield. So you're walking around with your torch, and an enemy approaches you, so you think, oh man, okay, quick, switch to my weapon loadout with the sword and shield, and it's pitch black, and you're like, oh crap. I can't see the enemy, I don't know where I'm swinging my sword, I don't know if I'm about to get hit, I have to run away. And that's what happens, even if it's an easy enemy that you know you could beat, it's like, I can't fight you in the dark, which is something I've never seen before. It's so cool. So what you'll end up doing is carrying a torch and then trying to quickly drop it on the ground before switching to your other set and fighting them in the light produced from the torch that's on the ground. But this makes for some really difficult, tricky moments as, you know, you might have to start backing away from them as they're attacking, and then you back out of the area of light, and suddenly you can't see again, and you're screwed again. But it's a really, really cool system, and not something I've seen elsewhere, so I really love that aspect of it. This is kind of what I mean when I say it's similar to Dark Souls in the feeling it gives you. So you're constantly kind of planning and using your your awareness of the whole world and everything that's around you to inform what you're doing, which means you have to be focused on so many things. You know, you have to focus on what's in your hand, the light level, where the enemies are, where the objects are in the world. You have to watch your feet and care if you don't trip over anything on the floor. It's a really, really cool system and makes for some awesome, awesome moments. So lastly, should you buy this game? Like I said, it is very early access and there's a lot of bugs. There's issues such as you can get knocked out, which is basically like dying, but a second chance mechanic, kind of like D&D. You wake up, but the enemy is still stood over you and just goes, eh, and kills you right there on the floor, which is pretty annoying, to be honest. Also, yeah, a lot of the systems aren't fully built out yet, like the skills system, the magic system. Regardless of all that, the game's only about £10. And I must say, I really recommend it. It is super fun. It's very rewarding combat. It forces you to be slow, but in a good way that uses, you know, all of your brain and awareness to plan out your next move. And it really makes you feel as if you're in a dungeon. And this is how you would really behave. So that about wraps us up. Thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, and I respond to all my comments. So if you have any questions about the game, happy to answer them. See you next time.
See ya.